us pray. Almighty God and our Heavenly Father, once again we're here to thank you and to praise you for seeing us through 30 years of the CWWA conferences. Lord, we ask you to bless each participant, bless each business, bless each employee, bless each and everyone who had a part to play in this conference. And Lord, we know that we're not meeting in person, but we know you care about each one of us and what you would have us to do. And so, Lord, we pray that everything will go smooth. We pray that your name will be praised and glorified in all that we do. And Lord, when it comes to an end, help us to have been glad to have been here to experience it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to our 30th anniversary celebration. Let's get right into it. We have a packed program today. We have Dr. Julia Frederick Van Jandera. She is there with us. She's the Director of the Water Authority of Cayman and the head of the local organizing committee of Cayman, is doing a wonderful job. Dr. Julia, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. I want to say a big welcome to the 30th anniversary celebration of CWWA. I know I just added in another W there, but that's for wastewater, because sometimes, we do that. It has been a long journey, but an exciting journey to reach this state. And I just want to say welcome to the Cayman Islands virtual space. We're sharing it, of course, now with our friends in the Trinidad, but I think this is going to be a very exciting program, looking back all of those 30 years. And some of us have been involved for even more than that with the precursor, which was the Caribbean Water Engineers Conference. So I am excited to see what's in store, and welcome. Wayne, over to you. Let's get started.
Thanks, Doc. I'd like to welcome government dignitaries, special guests, presenters, partners, moderators, sponsors, exhibitors, ladies and gentlemen, to the 30th annual virtual CWWA conference and exhibition celebration. I'd like to thank, of course, our sponsors. We have our gold sponsor, Sandpick. You've been hearing all week about them, as well as our silver sponsors, Deal Metering and Mia Water, the conference app by our good friends at Webco, the bronze sponsor, Consolidated Water, and our copper sponsors, Argo American, DART, and Florida Aquastore. We'd also like to thank our funders, the High Commissioner of Canada, the CDB, the IDB, UNEP, United Nations Environment Program, and the government of the Netherlands. Without you, much of this cannot be done. We'd also like to thank our exhibitors, Consolidated Water, the Sherwin-Williams Company, Solar Power and Pump Company, Deal Metering, Mia Water, and Webco. I'd like to welcome everybody to today's program. I want to introduce the next video. We have some greetings from around the Caribbean, and they're just wonderful. So let's just roll right into that. And rather, greetings from around the Caribbean.
Good afternoon, all. I am Engineer Cyprian Gibson and a proud past president of the CWWA. Hosting of this session is especially dear to me, as over the years I pride myself in assisting to build, rebuild, and maintain our partnerships throughout the region. My professional development began in 1996 when we hosted the conference in the Bahamas for the first time. Since then, this annual conference has been my #1 professional development opportunity. 30 years later, the CWWA, we are now solidly respected as the single most recognized Caribbean entity representing all stakeholders in the water and wastewater sectors in the Caribbean. And we are indeed diverse. We have moved from networking and conferences to working with our regional and global partners for the implementation of real sustainable programs throughout the region. In fact, the world of water now converges at our annual conference and exhibition. We wish we were able to include more on this occasion, but please join us as we hear from a representation of our important partners, national section representatives, and stakeholders. Happy anniversary, CWWA.
Congratulations, CWWA, on achieving this milestone of 30 years. The IDB Water and Sanitation Division is happy to share this occasion with the Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association. We are especially pleased to support and participate in CWWA's annual high-level forum for the past many years. It is a critical forum to exchange ideas on addressing issues affecting the water sector in the Caribbean. Out of this work, we have, together with CWWA and development partners, developed the RSAP, that is the Regional Strategic Action Plan, to address issues of climate change affecting the water sector in the Caribbean. This work remains ongoing and very important for us to continue. Congrats, CWWA. Happy 30th.
I wish on behalf of the Global Water Partnership Caribbean to congratulate the Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association on this remarkable achievement. For any organization to reach such an age of maturity would have required perseverance, diligence, and fortitude. Those who had the vision to establish such an organization many years ago would be proud to see what has been accomplished. I therefore urge all of us to continue striving forward while building on the firm foundation that has been left by the founding fathers. The Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association is the sum total of all who have served before. Let us labor to continue leaving a great legacy for the next generation to follow. Happy 30th anniversary.
I'm pleased to be able to celebrate with you the 30th anniversary of the Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association. On behalf of the United Nations Environment Program, we're very pleased to have been associated with this organization for so many years. We've had many fruitful collaborative activities, highlights of which would include the high-level forum on waste, as well as a high-level forum on water. And as a result of those fruitful collaborative activities, we have seen the establishment of the Caribbean Waste Management Action Program, endorsed by ministers and accepted by solid waste practitioners in the region. So as we move forward for the next 30 years, we look forward to this continued excellent working relationship. Congratulations to CWWA, the executive, and all members, and I look forward to being a part of your future. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the team at the Caribbean Development Bank, and as a proud member who has served at all levels of the organization, I congratulate the CWWA as we celebrate 30 years of unparalleled service to the water and waste sectors in the Caribbean. For 30 years, the CWWA has been the primary platform for regional water professionals and vendors to meet, share experiences, build capacity, and trade in new technologies. The CDB is privileged to have partnered with the CWWA on several impactful initiatives, including professional training, the development of regional sector strategies, and facilitating collaboration at all levels of the sector, from utility professionals and utility leaders to ministers of government. As we look forward to the next 30 years, the CDB commits to work to strengthen our partnership with the CWWA towards our mutual objective of the enhancement of the water and waste management sectors in the Caribbean. Let us remain optimistic for the future of the region and our capacity to influence that future for the better. Happy anniversary to my CWWA family.
On behalf of the Board of Directors and members of CWWA I am very happy to join in the celebration of CWWA's 30th anniversary. CWWA has been a partner with CWWA for many years as we work together for the development of the water and wastewater sector in the region. CWWA has been an anchor of professional development for many of us throughout the region. I am happy to report that I was an attendee at the first CWWA conference in Trinidad. Fresh out of school, it was my first ever professional event. We continue to work together with CWWA, and we look forward to that continuing collaboration as we partner together for the development of the water and wastewater sector throughout the region. 3 cheers, CWWA.
Good afternoon, all. On behalf of the Bahamas chapter, we are proud to celebrate this moment with the CWWA. Our chapter was formed in 1996 to host a conference. We've gone on to host 3 others. And each time we've learned that we have staff trained at all levels in the organization. In order to be sustainable, we've also included technical as well as administrative staff in participation in the CWWA. We are proud to all of the sponsors that have over the years and our awardees, Mr. George Moss, Dr. Richard Cant, as well as Mr. Godfrey Sherman, and of course, Ms. Marion Stephen, who was honored in the Bahamas during our 2014 conference. Over the years, we've grown with the CWWA as it's grown to involve more partners, and as we implement more practices and sustainable strategies throughout the region, and indeed the world. Continue the great work, CWWA, happy anniversary.
Cheers to 30 years, CWWA.
Greetings from the CWWA Grenada National Section. I'm here to say happy 30th anniversary to our beloved organization. I'm sitting here with Mr. Alan Neptune of the National Water and Sewage Authority, who is also an avid follower of our conferences over the years. He too wants to bring greetings.
Indeed, it's a great honor to be associated with this noble institution, the CWWA, and all congratulations on this notable achievement, 30 years of sterling service to the region and beyond. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The CWWA Guyana National Section wishes to thank founders and visionaries that birthed the Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association 30 years ago. The contribution of every member, council, partner, sponsor, and endless volunteers throughout the years has made this vision a reality. As we celebrate this milestone across the region, let us continue to work towards the development and growth of the water and waste sectors and the association.
Happy 30th anniversary, CWWA.
We want to extend our warmest congratulations to the CWWA on its 30th anniversary from the Jamaica chapter. The CWWA has indeed brought together the water and sanitation community in the Caribbean and the world towards the protection of public health and the promotion of sustainable development. What a mission! What a vision that has manifested itself over the past 30 years. 30 years ago was an awesome day. Happy anniversary, CWWA. On behalf of all our Jamaican stakeholders, exhibitors, sponsors, the National Water Commission colleagues, and friends, we wish the CWWA institution another 30 years milestone and beyond into a more resilient future, and extend thanks to Cayman Island for hosting this anniversary fiesta. Congratulations.
CWWA is a leader in the water sector.
CWWA is technological advancement.
CWWA is solid waste management.
CWWA is regional collaboration.
CWWA is groundwater exploration.
CWWA is wastewater operations.
CWWA is environmental protection.
CWWA is recycling, reducing, and reusing.
CWWA is water production.
CWWA is water resources management.
CWWA is young professional development.
CWWA is groundwater management.
CWWA
is research and development.
CWWA is capacity building.
CWWA is policy development.
CWWA is about sustainable waste management.
CWWA Team Wastewater.
CWWA is strategic planning,
Innovative thinking,
sustainable development,
and advocacy.
And CWWA is family.
Yes, I love it. CWWA is family. So right now, I'd like to keep moving down thank you for all the national sections and all the partners for sending in your greetings. We do indeed appreciate it. I'd like to introduce our special speaker today, Alex Simalabui. I was practicing, Alex. I was practicing. Alex has over 20 years experience in international development, interacting with high-level policy and decision makers and heads of state. He's the current executive secretary of the Global Water Partnership Southern Africa and GWP's global head for climate resilience. He is also the head of GWP African Coordination Unit, where he helped to establish what I consider the CWWA equivalent for Africa. He is a strong advocate for investments in water and climate resilience. He co-chaired the World Bank expert group on the $1.2 billion pilot program for climate resilience. This is part of the bank's $8.2 billion climate investment funds. He previously worked closely with the UN High-Level Panel on Water, which was set up by UN Secretary General and World Bank President. He developed GWP's largest climate resilience program on water climate development, WACDEP, and led its Euro 1.2 billion expansion from 5 countries in Africa across 60 countries, spanning 4 continents in Europe, Asia, Africa, Latin America, and much closer to home, the Caribbean. A good friend of the CWWA, Mr. Alex Simalabui. Alex. Oh, don't forget to unmute.
Unmute.
Great.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Wayne, my brother. And I'm really honored to be here representing the Global Water Partnership in my capacity as head of climate resilience for the Global Water Partnership in Stockholm, in Sweden. And greetings from South Africa in Pretoria, where I am. It is past 10 p.m. here at night, and I stayed over because I felt this is a very, very important occasion for CWWA. So let me start by saying congratulations to you on your 30th anniversary. I think I've been very, very impressed by the work that you've done in the region, which I happen to have visited between 2011 and 2014. And clearly, as part of your 30th anniversary, you have succeeded in bringing together the water and sanitation community in the Caribbean towards the protection of public health and promotion of sustainable development in water resources management and sanitation. You have clearly succeeded to positively influence advancements in technology, education, science, and water management. You have succeeded in influencing country and regional water sanitation policies, as has been already confirmed by the Caribbean Development Bank. You have worked and lived your vision, and I'm very, very impressed and honored to be giving some remarks on behalf of Global Water Partnership. After 30 years and looking backwards, I think all members of the CWWA can today look back with pride and shout that indeed the Caribbean Water and Waste Association has become the preeminent water and waste association in the Caribbean region. You have achieved this through very strong convening power, which you have demonstrated over the years and to which I was witness. You have forged strong collaboration within partners, within the region and beyond. And you also managed to engage at a very high level, ministerial level, to influence ministerial decisions, which has been very, very, very impressive. The annual conference led by the CWWA has been the platform for advancing the means of implementation for SDG number 17, advancing knowledge and exchange through technical presentations during the conference, as has been mentioned, enhancing capacity development, capacity building, as has already been mentioned by some of the colleagues who have grown up through their careers through the annual CWWA conference. You've also helped to mobilize and also share lessons around challenges and opportunities for accessing climate finance. And you've also been a forum, not only within the region, but also internationally, for providing exchange and showcasing technology through innovation systems through the CWWA annual exhibition conference that takes place as well. You must be very proud. Over the last 30 years, you have demonstrated the unmatched convening power of partners in the Caribbean, which has been very, very impressive. With a global reach, the United States of America, Canada, France, Dutch, and indeed Africa. Several of the partners that you've mobilized and are continuing to collaborate with include some of the partners that have also shared knowledge and have also worked very closely with you, including the Inter-American Association for Sanitary and Environmental Engineering, the Pan-African Health Organization, PAHO, the Caribbean Regional Fund for Wastewater Management, which has been a close partner, of course, including UN Habitat, UNEP, the Inter-American Development Bank, the Caribbean Development Bank, and several others, including CWWA, the Caribbean Health Environmental Institute, and others, including the Global Water Partnership Caribbean in the region. You have been able to nurture all these partners over the years, which has been demonstrated through your convening power, and this I must congratulate you. And most importantly, and closer to me, which is something I'm very, very interested in, and I was witness of, the high-level ministerial session has led to important landmark decisions at the ministerial level. Starting in 2005 as a session of the annual conference of the CWWA conference, the annual high-level session has been recognized and continues to be as a recognized proactive platform to engaging high-level policymakers and technocrats in terms of the challenges and solutions for implementing solutions for water resources management, wastewater and sanitation within the region. Over the years, you managed to bring together Caribbean water ministers and policymakers to engage in discussions on critical issues of IWRM and to provide the necessary technical information to support decision-making and development and implementation of regional approaches and policies for water sector management. I'm very proud that through our regional chapter and collaboration with the Global Water Partnership Caribbean, which is led by my colleague, the chair, Trevor Thompson, who has just also provided some input, and also currently led by GWP's regional coordinator, Simon Lewis, you have forged a stronger collaboration on the high-level session, working closely with the Global Environmental Facility, the Caribbean Regional Fund for Wastewater Management, Jeff Crew, and of course, the Caribbean Regional Coordinating Unit for the United Nations Environment. This forum has provided a number of key decisions at ministerial level, including the HL7, which I happened to attend when I was invited to the region. HL7, basically with 5 ministers, ministers from Dominican Republic, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, who endorsed the key recommendations for better water management in the region and signed a decision paper in terms of the actions that are needed to advance water management. HL12, High-Level Forum 12, which I also happened to attend, ministers responsible for water resources management, including 2 deputy prime ministers, committed themselves to addressing regional wastewater and building climate resilience in the Caribbean. They signed a declaration which recognized the high-level political leadership is key for meeting water security challenges and climate change within the region. High-level forum number 9 in the Caribbean, 5 ministers also came together, mobilized through CWWA and in partnership with high-level session. The ministers came together and endorsed recommendations for placing greater value of wastewater in the region. Clearly, this demonstrates the highly convening power of the CCWWA with partners. And in 2014, which I also happened to attend, 11 ministers were mobilized. At the time, this was the highest number of ministers. And the ministers committed themselves and again signed a declaration to take main discussions and recommendations from the forum to actually implement them. But challenges remain. Tremendous progress has been made within the region in raising awareness and convening, but 7 out of 10 people in the Caribbean are still without access to safely managed sanitation, and 2.5 people out of 10 without safely managed drinking water. Water security is an enduring issue within the region, compounded by the impacts of climate change and disasters. In the Caribbean, as in other parts of the world, there are several communities that are forced to live without a regular supply of water to satisfy their basic needs. In many cases, as we have seen in many island states, residents are left with few options, but being forced to get water from nearby rivers, standpipes, or even pay for water to be delivered to their homes. So as we reflect on the last 30 years and look forward to the next 30 years, I would like to make 3 recommendations on behalf of the Global Water Partnership. One of the main limiting factors of the high-level session has been the sustainability and the follow-up in implementing the recommendations and decisions at the ministerial forum that some of them I've just highlighted. I would like to challenge the CWWA in the next 30 years, institutionalize and consider ways to sustain the high-level ministerial session into a ministerial council, alongside the same model that has been developed in Africa, where the Ministerial Forum was convened into Africa Ministers' Council on Water, with regular decisions that are made on an annual basis and are followed up for implementation and reported to the heads of states on an annual basis. You can do the same and even more. I would also like to challenge the Caribbean Wastewater Association that, given the experience that you've demonstrated over the last 30 years, it is time now to go global. I have seen with my own eyes and with my own experience how experts and professionals from the Caribbean region have led global discussions within the Global Water Partnership. We have currently a number of people within GWP Caribbean who have been in the Global Steering Committee at the global level, including in our Global Technical Committee, leading technical discussions using regional experiences. I challenge you to think about hosting the World Water Forum and building on the Caribbean Wastewater Association's experience. You can showcase to the world what the region has to offer, which I believe is impressive. The World Water Forum would be a very good place to be hosted in the Caribbean, not in South America or Central America, in the Caribbean, because there's a lot that you have to offer, not only within the region, but also globally. And finally, given the challenges that the region is facing and has been facing because of climate change, and the experience of the 5 Cs, Caribbean Climate Change Center, that I have witnessed as well within the negotiations on climate change, within the UNFCCC at the global level, and also within negotiations to help countries as climate finance, with the Green Climate Fund, the Global Environmental Facility, you can host the next UNFCCC Climate Change Conference. With those remarks, I want to congratulate you once again for the work that you have achieved over the years, and also wish you the very best in moving forward. And in conclusion, I would like to acknowledge once again my colleagues in the region, part of the GWP regional family, Trevor Thompson, the chair of the GWP Caribbean with his vice, Dr. Kelvin Rennie, my colleagues who I have also witnessed, I've seen again, who are still in action. I met them 5 years ago, including Wayne Williams, Cyprian Gibson. You hosted me in the Bahamas with the 2 deputy prime ministers. And also my colleagues, Simona Lewis and Gabriel Luke, who are also very much part of the GWP in the Caribbean. And on behalf of the Global Water Partnership, I wish you the very best over the next 30 years. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you very much. You've given us a lot to think about with especially your recommendations. Just as a little response for you to comfort you, a couple of the big outcomes of our high-level fora, the water and wastewater one, we have the Regional Strategic Action Plan for climate resilience in the region, and that is a solid document, and that was signed off in 2019 by the ministers. We have just recently done a 2021 upgrade of the implementation plan. I will send both to you, because not only that's going to be unveiled at the high-level forum next week. And the week after that, at the Waste Forum that's coming up, we also have the Caribbean Waste Management Action Plan that has been put for CWWA as well to guide in the region. And that has come out of the high-level forum for waste. So we have some things happening, not just talk, which is gratifying. But I like the challenge. The World Water Forum hosting. Okay, give us some vision to think big and to move ahead. I think going global we can do, and we'll take the steps to start off, because we do have actually a lot of experts in the region that can contribute internationally, that have done and will continue to do. So thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
All right, you're welcome. You're welcome. Now we'd like to move into the a recording. We've coined it an evening with the trustees. So the interview that I had with our three trustees, Andrew Hutchinson, Daniel Cummings, and Sherry Dumas Haywood, was 46 minutes long. But no, we're not going to hear that long. We're going to take a snippet. We call it part one. And part one is the answer to the questions: why should I join the CWWA? So I would like you to note, all three of those, our trustees, are past presidents, some of them quite a while ago. And I'd like you to observe their passion in how they talk about this, still after all these years. So Anuradha, an evening with the trustees, part one. Well, good evening. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. Tonight, we're doing a small session. I like to call it an evening with the trustees. With us, we have in no certain order. I will just go with how I see it on the screen. We have Mr. Daniel Cummings, Mr. Andrew Hutchinson, and of course, Sherry Dumas Haywood. So welcome you guys.
Good evening, Wayne.
Good evening.
Hi,
Good
hi.
evening. Good evening,
Great.
trustees.
Yes, yes. You guys are looking great, by the way. So one of the things we wanted to do in our 30th anniversary celebration is to hear from our trustees a little bit of what's on their heart. And we decided we will just pick three questions, some questions that will encompass, sort of the history and maybe the future of CWWA. So the first question really is, why did you join the CWWA? All of us have joined the CWWA, and this group here have all been all past presidents, and three, of course, are now trustees, excluding myself. So the question, Sherry, why did you join the CWWA?
Well, Wayne, I joined the CWWA for one main purpose. Then, afterwards, I got many other reasons, but the continuing professional development, I was very interested in that. As a young technical person working at the University of the West Indies, I saw interacting with the professionals in CWWA as important to my personal growth and development, and to the training that I was responsible for young engineers, young graduates, and I thought that interacting with the professionals in the water sector was very important on a regular basis.
I was influenced by my mentor at the time, Arthur Archer, who was a member.
Yes.
Of course, you have to put this in the context of the second conference, 1993.
There you go.
He encouraged me to join the association because the conference was coming to Barbados and he needed more hands to help plan it. And I signed up very unknowingly in May of 93, I think it was, and quickly realized I was sucked onto a committee to plan the conference, and then quickly he ducked out and I became the conference chair. And I had to do a single hand balancing act to pull it off. And that was how I joined 93. And the conference, at the same conference, at the AGM of that conference, I was elected vice president. So it was a remarkable May. We had a conference, which was very small at that time. 25 people were there. We had about 5 exhibitors, and we had a cocktail reception to kick it off, and we had a cocktail prize giving, and that was it. But we made money. And John Williams, when he saw how he handled it and how he made money, he came to me before the AGM, hours before the AGM, and said, Andrew, I want to put you as vice president. I said, Ron, you must be crazy, right? I just so be it. I got nominated, and then I was vice president and president the following year for 2 years.
Thank you, Wayne, and good to see my colleagues looking as young as ever. In the Caribbean, I have this notion that professionals don't pay much attention to their development across the board, whether you're a doctor, an engineer, an accountant, and so on. And we find people from outside of the region come to our shores, take our ideas and present them at conferences and use them in different ways, and we don't even get credit. And when I first heard of the Water Engineers Conference, this was in St. Vincent, I think 81 or 82. As a young engineer, I was thrilled to be able to participate in that very small event, but an event I can never forget. And a seed was sown there. And to me, the technical sessions at CWWA's flagship event, the annual conference, are something that every young professional should look forward to every year. And sometimes people think it's all about some highfalutin technical thing, but just to share real life experiences as engineers, as accountants, as supply managers, and so on. That's where the heart of the issue is, for us to learn the good and the bad. And one of the recommendations I've been making for years, because utilities form the backbone of the whole thing, is for water managers to afford their professionals the opportunity to attend at least one conference a year.
Yes.
And I always add a proviso that they present a paper at the event. And we've in St. Vincent used that very effectively to expose all our engineers. If you want to go to the conference, fine, we pay your way, but you must present a paper. And some very good papers came out of that. Right? I hope that and perhaps at the time, when CWWA started, Sherry, when I went to UE, if you had 5 women doing civil engineers out of 250 something, that was a lot.
Right.
Now, and quite rightly, one of the positive changes with CWWA, in my humble opinion, has been the movement of the women into the leadership of the institution at all levels. And that's one of the very real positive developments thus far.
I was just want to piggyback on what Daniel was saying there with the development of the engineers. And I have a particular joke that I always use. I hope that one of the engineers that worked with the water utility in St. Vincent, I remembered when he was training at UE and he did not like fluid mechanics. And I said, what country are you from? And he said that he was from St. Vincent. I said, well, 9 out of 10 times, you will end up, I am sure that you would end up working in the water utility, And eventually when he graduated, he did in fact work with the water utility in St. Vincent. And I met him at a conference and he was presenting a paper. He said, I said, I am very excited. He says, yes, well, Mr. Daniel Cummings is my boss. I said, but no, I mean, the benefit of doing that, of sharing your research, of sharing the problems. And I always say, when you come to CWWA conference, you get to know another utility manager and you simply have a problem and you can take up your phone. There's a whole lot of value in that we could sell. You take up your phone and you call and you say, hey, Daniel, we are trying to do so and so. And have you all done this before? What are the companies that assisted you? And we have so many examples of that kind of collaboration because of CWWA. You know, so I think that is the message we want to pass on to the young professionals in the system.
What other things, what other items you think, how CWWA has changed over the years?
Well, again, going back to the water utility, which is really is my sphere, there is not the slightest doubt in my mind that the CWWA has helped most of the utilities to acquire the best equipment available in the industry, not only pipes and fittings, but leak detection and other types of equipment at a competitive rate, and in a changing world. And that was made possible by the Herculean task of the exhibitors over the years.
The opportunities for networking were phenomenal at the conference, and then for people from the water utilities and across the Caribbean to be able to interface with all the exhibitors and see new technology, new equipment, new systems. That is uplifting and continuing education. And I think conference adds that significant value to the whole Caribbean water environment.
Wonderful to hear from our trustees. That was part one. There is a part two that has already been recorded and wrapped and ready to go. So stay tuned. We're going to release that pretty soon, later this week, for your edification. So right now, what we would like to do is to hear from our president, the current president of the CWWA, Ms. Sarah Jade Govaya. So, Sarah, roll 'em.
Years ago, several engineers put their collective ideas together and approached the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago to formalize a society of professionals that would educate and train Caribbean people to support improvements in the management of water and wastewater. I strongly suspect that the reason the CWWA was established in the TNT Parliament, and not generally, was because of the significance of these sectors to the citizens of the Caribbean. And that would be rooted in the Trinidad and Tobago Parliament, but most importantly, cascade outward to other countries. 30 years ago, in the early 1990s, when the CWWA was established, many Caribbean economies were facing in their own way a kind of fiscal destabilization, where most of them were experiencing peaks of inflation. This is significant because it signals the thrust our forefathers put forward that water and wastewater was central to the Caribbean, protecting and growing its people, its place, and its profits. Since then, CWWA has evolved to more than a group of engineers. It is now one of professionals practicing in the water, sanitation, and also now the solid waste sector in the region. We are, of course, not only Caribbean nationals, but other nationals who are dedicated to the development of the region. Personally, I have only been a part of the CWWA in the last 10 years, and I have seen growth, where we have moved from being an affiliate of utilities to now a trusted partner of private companies, other NGOs, development banks, and agencies. And that is cemented in the implementation of the Strategic Plan for Water, the RSAP, and the newly installed CW MAP. The support we have from these partners is invaluable because my philosophy is that we are only islands by geography, but not by spirit. And this is a spirit.
Nothing else from me, Leighton. Nothing more from me. Just to encourage you all to.
And of course, shifting migration. For me, being a part of the association and being at the helm in this turning point in the region is both an honor and a responsibility that I.
Sorry, I'm going mute again. Yeah, I was just sorry. I was just saying that No, I'm here. I'm
Correct? It is not a bunch of conferences. The CWWA is people. People who have the power and passion to influence and impact the lives of other people. And not just any people, but Caribbean people. That is my driver to work in the CWWA, to see it grow and succeed. Just like many of our members and those who may not be financial members, but those who are committed to seeing the CWWA thrive. What does the next 30 years hold for CWWA? Well, in thinking about where the CWWA would be, we first have to think about where the region would be in 30 years. And my hope and prayer is that our world leaders would exercise enough boldness in their climate negotiations and action to ensure we are not underwater and that we are still here. We at the CWWA therefore need to take a hard, unfiltered look at ourselves to see how much more we can be doing to prepare for the Caribbean in the year 2051. We are therefore prioritizing our pivot into the digital world with a few projects. The first one is the Caribbean Skills Reservoir, and this was launched in 2019. This is for you, for our members to jump on and build your digital profile in the CWWA so that we can find opportunities for you and the association to support Caribbean development together and to monetize that offering to the region. The second project is CWWA Digital, developing a web-based information and centralized hub for all water, sanitation, and solid waste data for projects for research in the region. And this is a large part of building capacity in the region of both professionals and the public. We believe this transparency approach would reverse the data poverty faced by Caribbean nationals and sensitize them and develop advocacy at the public level for better water and waste management. The third project is CWWA Academy, a virtual learning environment for Caribbean solid waste and water professionals to become trained and educated on emerging and specialized topics that are problems that our professionals face every day, but yet are significantly challenged to overcome. So I am encouraging all of you, members, non-members, past members, to jump on board and be a part of something truly special. Our secretariat is small, and our board are also volunteers, and we need you, our wider membership, or utilities, corporates, academics, young professionals, previous executives, to work with the secretariat and the board on these three priorities to take CWWA forward. Feel free, please, to flood my email inbox if you are interested or you have any ideas on how we can get this done quickly and successfully together. I am elated to be CWWA, to be a part of this network of men and women who every day show up in their own practices and walks of life to benefit the lives of Caribbean people as we pursue the best approach to managing solid waste and water and sanitation. Cheers CWWA to 30 years, and cheers to 30 more years of CWWA.
Thank you, Madam President. Well said. Well said. A lot of new things going to be coming on the pike, and it's next year. I'll share some of them with you in a little bit. Right now, we're going to take a small break, what we call it in the industry, a bio break. 5 minutes, 5 minutes. And we'll be back, because when we come back, we do have a competition where folks can win a prize, a monetary value prize. We'll also hear from a couple of speakers on the future of water and the future of waste and the future of CWWA. We're also going to go into some breakout sessions just for a little bit to be able to hear from you and to get feedback in certain categories, because what we this coming year, we're going to really focus on engaging our membership. And I'll talk about a little bit about it in a bit. But we want to hear from you. And so we have some specific questions that we will ask in our breakout groups. It won't be too long, 15, 20 minutes, but you'll be surprised how quickly that goes. And we did a practice yesterday and we were just practicing and we got all excited discussing the topic that we were just going to talk about. So 5 minutes, it is 5 minutes to 5 approximately. So we'll come back a little after 5 o'clock, 5:01, we shall return. And as I said, we're going to have some more stuff for you. It's not too much longer again to wrap up, but we have some interesting stuff, including a little competition when you come back. So don't be late. Thank you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Oh, there's 5 minutes. One of the things that, in terms of looking back and looking forward, one of the things that we did last year, which I think, if I may say so, one of the early folks to do so, is that we included a spoken word piece in our conference, and it was very popular. And so we decided it's not too long, and it is a wonderful body of work by the 2 Cents movement here in Trinidad. So we wanted to play The Water Boy for you. So Anuradha, as soon as you have it ready to roll, you can roll it. So I'm just amazed that these folks can remember all these words in this poetry. Very, very impressive indeed. And the way he put it together, very clever as well.
I am Water Boy, the one on the side of the field, sidelined because my speed wasn't good enough. I was not tough enough. I could never make the cut. When the game going on, I sit, wait, and watch, and as such, I was never popular or felt part of the team. When the games end and the girls running in, they running past me. I have all the water, but I'm always thirsty. I am Water Boy. My necessity has diminished into an arbitrary ordinariness. When it have Gatorade, I am needed in the mix, but never miss. I am most times the last option, in conjunction with the flippant way players will waste my product, drink a bit and then throw out the remnant because I does always bring more, right? So they pass the Water Boy on the floor, right? Picking up the drips of their wastage. The Water Boy ain't have no place in important affairs. I sure they will not even miss me if I was not here. So in true Water Boy fashion, hand in feet, I walked out on my water service and took a water break. Yeah, it's halftime for me, or a permanent timeout. It did not take long for them to recognize that a timeout for me is a whole drought. If you see dry mouths, parched in my absence, lips stiff like if they were starch, now I am puffed up and arrogant. Where the Water Boy? Yeah, I saw a man crying and begging to be quenched. There were no tears on his eyes. It's a kind of sandpaper dry cry, sizzler vent. Then what I started, that started to spread across the world. And then underappreciated water carriers decided there and then that enough is enough. If you see farmers resorting to try to spit inside their troughs, sanitation workers watching the COVID and saying, whoa, this is tough. Iowa, stop singing about water and start to pelt dust. Much to the chagrin of the masqueraders who themselves were trying to use buckets to catch their sweat in. The people want water and blessings. Then in the midst of the thirst, a man had an idea. He said, as Caribbean islands, we should never be scared of the absence of water. All we need to do is head by the ocean with pumps and that will have the whole problem sorted out. It's amazing the things people will believe when they're dehydrated. A man washes his car with seawater and say the heavenly being has created all solutions to meet our most dire needs and grant us all of our wettest wish. Well, God must be come down and slap that man with a loaf and 2 fish. The way people undervalue water is like they have an endless bit of it. They misunderstand how water fits into a complex system of mechanics. Anytime you turn on your pipe, it's a miracle if water comes in, and if the pipe whistles, that is signal to panic. I want you to pay bits of thanksgiving and manage to give the Water Boy a song, the round of applause. The way it leaves our body and easily escapes our pores, it's hard to pause and give thanks to the Water Boy. The corporations that always calculating the ways in which we could switch to more sustainable states of water, boy. Give thanks to the water, boy, who always there but most times mistreated, who is treated like once but most times we need him, who you blow by but is he who have the world breathing. We want some water, boy, and we want to feel him and feed in to making sure he stays around. This is for every water body in the Caribbean. The hope that every citizen will whet their appetites with insight to preserve water, and hope that we reorder our loose priorities. Pause this poem, water boy, because I am all thirsty. One sip of life for me, one sip of water.
One sip of water. That's how important it is. Thank you, Honorata. Right, so let's get into our little competition here. What you will need to do is to reply in the chat. And so the first person with the correct, that we will let the chat do the judging in terms of timing. So who it's first come, first serve. We might have two folks, because what happened last year, two folks had the same time stamp. So what we'll do, and we had to give two prizes. So what we're going to do this time is to let you know that the person with the first person with the correct answer, regardless of the time, will be the winner. So I'm going to share my screen. They're going to have 3 questions on it. The first person that submits in the chat the correct answer to all 3 questions, and they're short answers, like one of them is a year and stuff like that, will win the prize, $100 US Amazon gift card. Of course, you can spend it on whatever you want. So let me share my screen. So get ready, because this is going to happen quick. Let me just, okay. So here we go. 3 questions are: what year did founder Ron Williams see his son installed it as president-elect? In what country was that conference held? What was Wayne's position at the time? Go. We tried to make it a little so that people wouldn't. One of them was going to be like, what years was the conference held in Bahamas, stuff like that. But I'd give an advantage to Bahamas. So we try to mix it up here to see who knows what, who remembers what. I know there are folks in here that know. So 1, 2, and 3. Have to get all 3 correct. Interesting. No correct answers yet. Interesting, interesting. So you have to answer all 3 in your response. Very interesting. Is it that long ago? I don't think I've seen one correct answer yet in any of the 3 for any of the 3 questions. Okay. We keep going. The answers are not correct yet, but we'll move on. So you can keep putting into the chat, and we will see if anybody has won. Nobody. Sarojit. They have some people in the room right now that were there when it happened. That's why I find it interesting. so, so we will move on. Okay, there's the first correct answer. Lakeisha Johnson, 2009, U.S. Virgin Islands. I was the public relations officer. That is correct, Lakeisha. Some of you guys were actually there. Yes, you remember that. And it was actually Vincent Sweeney that nominated me at the AGM. Thank you, Lakeisha. And we have Stella Saunders here. For those of you who know Stella was our PRO for quite a while after that, after she did a stellar job in USVI. So thank you. Let me unshare my screen. Okay, wonderful. So how important history is. And welcome, Stella. Right, so now we're going to move into hearing about the future of water. Dr. Claire Nelson, Forbes, Jamaican, Caribbean woman. Forbes top 50 female futurist, Dr. Claire Nelson. For those that didn't know, they have people called futurists. She's the founder of the Futures Forum in Washington, D.C. That's where she lives now, and was a developer with equity pioneer at the Inter-American Development Bank. So she was at IDB for several years, where she was honored for her courageous leadership with the bank's coveted Ortiz Mania Award. Honored as a White House Champion of Change, she is listed among the top 50 female futurists on Forbes.com. She's the founder and the president of the Institute of Caribbean Studies in Washington, D.C. She's also the chair of the National Caribbean American Heritage Month. She's also the executive producer of Invest Smart Caribbean and National Caribbean American Heritage Awards. So let's hear from Dr. Claire Nelson on the future of water.
Water speaks, and it's saying to us, you need me more than I need you. Yeah, and this is the question we want to ask today. I've been thinking about the future of water and how we share water. I am Dr. Claire Nelson, author of Smart Futures for a Flourishing World, and I'm delighted to share with you some thinking about the future of water. So jump into 2050 with me, if you will, and imagine a headline which deals with conduct women associations who are water privileged. There's a new index that measures how much water we use, and they have been fudging the data to make it look as if to say they are doing their part to ensure we all have water. Our planet is thirsty. We're talking about 70% of the world covered with ocean, but it's salty. 95% is salty, and only 1% is fit and ready to drink immediately. Was water everywhere and not a drop to spare. That is the thing that I was told as a child. So as you think about the world we are now, we realize that we're in a water crisis, an existential threat, if you will. We're in a VUCA world. It's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And we're in a state of future shock. This Industry 4.0 world in which we live is evolving exponentially. And against the backdrop of Industry 4.0, we now have to deal with climate change, which is exacerbating our water problems. Everything that you think about is connected to water, whether it's sea level rise, extreme weather events, food supply, biodiversity, all of this is contributing to how we are envisioning our water. Our greatest challenge then is to think about how will we share our planet, our humanity, our rulebooks, and our decision making as we are planning for this world in which we all have water. We need strategies and plans that are smart, sustainable, measurable, agile, resilient, and teleologically effective. The question is, are you future ready? Do you understand that we live in a VUCA world? Do you understand that your sector must be prepared for the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years? Do you understand the trends in the technologies and your profession that will take you forward into this future? You must understand these things if you're to perhaps believe that there's such a headline in 2040 where you could have a cosmetic company being sued for falsifying its Water Guardian score. Yes, I can imagine a future in which there's a global Water Guardian score where companies are coded based on how they're treating their water. This is what we mean, or I mean, when I say a flourishing future. What is the future that we do want? And can we get it if we really want it? We're talking about perhaps treating with the Sustainable Development Goals, but we do know we want a safe, just space for humanity. That is what we want. And SDG 6, which is about water, ensuring access to water and sanitation for all, is critical to our achievement of these goals. Think about it. 1 in 4 or more people might experience a water shortage by the year 2050. So as we think about where we're going and the decisions we have to make around our water futures, the who, what, when, where, how, and how we will design, develop, and deploy the future of water. This is all in your hands. It is in our hands. It's a collective experience which has to be done by moving away from our current ways of treating things as a silo. So the question is, what's up with that? The fact is that we're too siloed. So many water groups are focused on, watersheds or wetlands or utilities, that there's no unified message in this chapter. There's no global UN framework for water. And so everything we're dealing, even climate change, requires that we treat water better. How might this future emerge if we consider that water is a complex systems of systems public good? And it's a public good that requires public-private partnership in order that in the year 2030, 2040, 2050, 60, we are still having water for future generations. We're talking about going to space, right? And China is on the hunt for water at the south and north pole of the moon. But the fact is, we're going to need water on space life. The reason why Earth is special is because we have water. And so as we think about water in space, might there be a technology that is so proficient that we can recycle and even create air, and then from air create water if necessary? How are we going to change this future? How we're going to shape the future? How we're going to reset the future? Do we have the right attitude and altitude? How are we going to make friends with change? My first futures framework talks about looking at sustainability systems, making sure we have meaningful metrics, make sure we have aspirational agency, and that's the A, robust resilience and transformative use of technology. This is what we mean when we're talking about moving towards smart leadership. And in this, we need what we call a high future quotient leadership. That's curious, that's courageous, that's cross-generational, that is collaborative, that's compassionate, and that is connected culturally and is also able to do creative analysis, right? And so the question is how we share decision making. We have to develop future sense. We need smart leaders who are system thinkers, meaningful metrics, agile adaptability. They have robust resilience, and they're transformational in the way they deal with their spiritual intelligence. We have to have future sense, that capacity of individuals to observe oncoming change and to be ready to work with that change. I want you to imagine then a headline that says, by 2030, the Water Alliance of the Small Island Development States have succeeded in meeting their goals in securing water reserves for 7 days of emergency water in the islands in the event of a disaster. And they've done that by installation of desalination plants in specific areas around their country. Is this future possible? I think it is. Remember, the future is ours to shape. The vast possibilities of our great future will become realities only if we ourselves are responsible for this future. And remember, the future is embedded in the world we see today. So how we share our water is up to you and you and you.
Indeed, indeed, it is up to all of us. And thank you, Dr. Nelson. Sometimes we don't understand the gravity at which we are in our water sector at this time. Coming up next is going to be Mr. David Simmons. David Simmons is an environmental management and sustainable development specialist with more than 25 years experience working in several areas related to environmental policy, planning, and management. Mr. Simmons has considerable experience in solid waste management, having undertaken assignments in several countries of the region involving the preparation of waste characterization studies. For example, Barbados 2005 and 2015, Trinidad 2012, and Tobago 2012 to 2013. Waste recycling feasibility studies, Barbados 2004, and integrated solid waste management plans, Belize 2010, Barbados 2004, and a regional waste recycling strategy for the Caribbean for SEHI in 2006. In 2011, Mr. Simmons undertook a review and assessment of solid waste management capacity in several Caribbean countries and was the lead consultant on the preparation of the institutional strengthening of the Solid Waste Management Authority in Belize. In 1994, he prepared the seminal study on the assessment of waste disposal, and in particular, the disposal of solid waste by cruise ships in the marine environment of several Caribbean countries for the Caribbean Tourism Organization, CTO. Subsequent to that, in 97 to 2000, he served as the project manager of the OECS Solid and Ship-Generated Waste Management Project, a US $50 million project which involved the restructuring and establishment of effective institutional, legal, and regulatory and operational capacities for solid waste management in 6 OECS states. David was part of the international team that just concluded 2020 to 2021 preparation of the marine plastics debris deep dive study for selected Eastern Caribbean countries for the World Bank, and is currently undertaking a study that is intended to strengthen the enabling environment in the OECS for the reduction of marine litter. That's the REMLIT project. The objective of which is to update and strengthen the enabling environment and coordinating mechanism for waste, including plastics, styrofoam, and other materials contributing to marine litter management in OECS member states. And David has also just completed the IP 2021, the implementation plan for 2021 for the Caribbean Waste Management Action Plan, which we will be launching at the HLF for Waste in a couple of weeks. So please welcome Sir David Simmons to say a few words.
Good afternoon to the CWWA family. Let me take this opportunity, first of all, to congratulate the CWWA on reaching a significant milestone, that is the 30th anniversary. 30 years may seem like a long time in the context of water and wastewater, given the fact that the infrastructure that supports these utilities and the service organization that manage these utilities have been around for a much longer time period. However, in the context of sanitation, and more specifically solid waste, it was not long ago that the issue of waste really impacted on the consciousness of the average man on the street and the policymakers in our region. The management of waste fell in most of the countries onto the jurisdiction of health authorities. And it was not until the late 1990s that we saw an attempt then to establish independent solid waste management authorities in the region, and to also establish legislation that would introduce new measures for managing waste in a very systematic manner. So it was therefore not surprising that it was not until the early 2000, somewhere around 2010, that the CWWA took upon themselves to introduce waste management as part of the waste and wastewater program, so that they should be congratulated for. Waste has now become a big issue and a big problem both globally and regionally. It's a big problem because man's consumption habits and lifestyle, a direct function of improved economic condition, have changed, resulting in the generation of more waste and the need to ensure safe and sanitary disposal of such waste. Unfortunately, the solutions for efficient disposal have not kept pace with the technologies and the marketing blitz that have now created a growing throwaway culture in which plastics, particularly single-use plastics, have become a dominant product in the home, in businesses and industry, and now a major concern and a contributor to marine pollution. Plastics in particular become a big problem because the world now produces more than 400 million tons of plastic every year. And the largest industrial sector is the plastic packaging sector, which constitutes something like 36% of all that 400 million tons of waste that is produced. And it's a big problem because the packaging material for most of it is just single-use item, which are discarded once its use has been completed, once it is just ended its life. It is estimated that of all plastic produced, only 9% has been recycled, 12% is incinerated, and the remaining 79% is disposed of in landfills, dump sites, or littered around the environment. More significantly for Caribbean countries, marine plastics and microplastic pollution from land and sea-based sources are being increasingly identified as priority concern due to the persistent nature of the impacts that they have and the high financial cost of cleaning up coastal communities, and particularly in Caribbean countries who are so dependent on tourism, the image of a pristine environment cannot be allowed to suffer because of that. But more importantly, waste has an impact on human health in the sense that because of the plastic pollution and the waste that's going into the marine environment, it impacts on seafood, which we're very dependent on. Some 15% of the world's protein comes from seafood, and more than 25% of fish sold contains plastic in their guts and tissues. More importantly, waste dumps can be breeding grounds for vermin and mosquitoes, which spread diseases such as Zika virus, dengue fever, and malaria. We now have the COVID-19 pandemic, and in the last, since the COVID-19 pandemic struck, they've seen some like an increase of 250% in the generation of plastics and plastic waste. Also, the plastic pollution impacts on marine health itself, in that nearly 700 marine species are harmed by ocean plastic. 100% of sea turtles, 73% of seals, 66% of seabirds, and 64% of whales and porpoises. In small island development states, the generation of plastic waste is very problematic because countries in the region, or particularly in small island states, they're faced with limited land space, human resource capacity constraints, and financial challenges. So managing waste in a manner that will reduce the generation ensure efficient collection and limited pollution, the surrounding environment is of great urgency for SIDS. While countries in the region all boast of very high, that's a 85 to 98% collection efficiency, facilities for final disposal are nearing the end of life and will require additional space to find alternative means of disposal. But because countries of the region import most of the products and materials consumed, the amount of waste generated will only continue on an upward trajectory, and chances are some of that waste will be mismanaged, with the result that pollution of the environment will only continue. So faced with this growing threat, countries need to embark on various initiatives to address the problems of solid waste and plastic pollution. And in that regard, several countries have embarked on various initiatives. But what we think is required over the next few years is the need to pay close attention to the extent to which national policies and legislation do have in them certain specific measures or specific initiatives that are going to tackle the problem head on. And some of those initiatives would include things like extended producer responsibility, addressing the whole issue of single-use ban, introducing things like deposit refund mechanism. Also, we need to look at the whole issue of cost recovery mechanism and coming up with sustainable financing, because one of the major problems that countries have, and I keep saying it over and over again, is money, money, money. Without the resources, without those financial resources, they'll never be able to really meet the whole cost of managing their waste. And what we've seen from most of the countries, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 countries in the region, the financing of waste is either primarily dependent on directly from government sources or from other initiatives that are external to the region. From a global standpoint, the generation of waste itself is also a big issue, as I said early on. But what we've seen is that this issue has gained global attention, and a lot is being done at the international level to address the plastic pollution. One of the most important things I think have come about in the last few years is where some of the world leading brands and retailers are now joining forces to tackle plastic waste challenges through packaging and policy commitments that will include improved recyclability by phasing out problematic materials and also colors and labels from the packaging. We're seeing more entities, more countries adopting the whole extended producer responsibility program framework, which really promotes industry-led solution to strengthen and expand recycling systems worldwide. And we've also heard about the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and the whole circular economy that is based on three very basic principles: eliminating waste and pollution, keeping production and materials in use, and also regenerating national systems. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation, they've also partnered with several businesses to launch a new plastic economy global commitment and plastic pact network. And I mention that because this is one of the things that we see happening on a global level, where they're adopting certain plastic packaging design guidelines to ensure they reduce the amount of plastic that is used in packaging. They're also relying on frameworks for EPR programs to support the improvements and development of waste management systems, and more importantly, to support new programs in advanced and transitional markets to increase recycling. But I think the biggest initiative that's taking place at a global level is where proponents are now advocating for a global UN treaty on plastic pollution. And basically what they're seeking to do is to kind of coordinate international responses, one that aligns businesses and governments with a shared understanding of the causes of plastic pollution and a clear approach to addressing them. More than 2/3 of the UN member states from across the world have officially declared that they are open to considering the option of a new global agreement, including the African, Baltic, Caribbean, Nordic, and Pacific countries, as well as the European Union. So the Caribbean, while not a significant contributor to marine pollution, we cannot ignore the global effort to reduce the generation of waste, and in particular, plastic pollution that is threatening to upset the whole plastic marine life balance. In fact, it's even projected that by the year 2030, there'll be more plastic than fish in the marine environment. As CWWA celebrates its 30th anniversary, its commitment to waste management is badly needed. Not that I'm doubting that commitment is going to waver any bit, but I just wanted to make sure that initiatives which they have started, such as the CWWA High-Level Forum, where they bring together ministers responsible for waste, which started in 2017, that is something that could continue. And that sort of direct access to ministers with responsibility for waste management as the region seeks to ensure solid waste management authorities are better equipped to address the problems of waste. It's badly needed and should continue. But more importantly, the membership of the CWWA can become a link and a resource in bridging the gap between the Caribbean and the rest of the world, particularly in reaching out to the private sector and embracing some of the initiatives that they're now embarking upon in order to reduce both the generation of plastic packaging material, as well as the introduction of innovative measures in designing materials that are more easily recycled. So from that perspective, I think there is a role for the CWWA to play as far as managing waste in the region. Not that there are entities who are doing some of that work, but I think that particularly as it relates to engaging the private sector, given the membership of the CWWA, I think this is where they can play a very pivotal role in ensuring that we adopt some of those measures that we've seen being articulated at the international level in order to help reduce the problems of waste as we see increasing in the whole region. So thanks very much for this opportunity to speak to you all on the issue. And I do hope that with the existing partnership that exists, that whole effort will continue. Thanks.
Thanks you, David. Well, we've just heard from two experts in the business, and they had to speak quickly because they had a lot to say. I would recommend, for folks when you get this recording to listen to them again, because there's a lot going on. I know that when I first got this job, I guess this week was 2 years ago. I was very surprised when I went to a couple seminars about in some categories that I didn't even know that the Caribbean was into. And I was shocked to see how much was happening outside, well, in my case, Trinidad, in the Caribbean, and with respect to energy and waste energy, stuff like that. So I want to exhort the young people, especially, to raise your head, lift up your head and look around. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on in the region, and we are at a transition point in many different sectors, and you want to be able to be part of what happens next. And our two speakers, Dr. Nelson and Mr. Simmons, they gave you a lot of information in a short period of time of where this thing is going. And you want to be able to help your agency or your utility move that in that direction. And you want to be able to help move your country in that direction. Right now, my name is on the agenda to speak about the future of CWWA. I'll just take a couple of minutes, a few minutes. A couple points to dovetail in what our president spoke about earlier. Number one important topic in CWWA, especially in the Secretariat and our Executive Council, is membership. This is a membership association. And we have to understand, and you've heard the trustees speak a little earlier about the importance to them on the membership and their participation in some of these events. I remember myself when I went away to my first conference up in the US, and I was shocked to see all the things that was happening in my industry. I came back excitedly. And in fact, I brought home a couple of samples of equipment that my utility ended up purchasing, through the right process. So it changed my life when I went there and I saw how large my category was. So membership is important, but you know what's even more important than membership? Membership engagement. You could have a list of people that have members. You could have a list of people that pay their dues, but if you only see them once a year at conference, maybe, how does that help the CWWA? CWWA is a membership association, and we in the Secretariat, and supported by the Executive Council, will be doing our level best to engage membership this even more this coming year. We've done a lot thus far. But what we've been doing is that we've been looking at some of the transitions that are taking place. To engage people, just people in general right now, you have to use different strategies. You can't just send an email and hope that they read it and then hope that they act on it. When we started getting, as one of the upgrades in the Secretariat, we started using some software that kept track of the logistics. There's some emails we sent, and we had 18% of the people open it. 18%, and I was told in the industry that's not a low number. I was shocked. It's like I always open any CWWA email I get. It's like 18% open it, and then they'll tell you how if they spend 30 seconds on it, 5 seconds, a minute, or whatever. So we're using a lot of the tools, a lot more now, a lot of the tools that are available in order to help track and get data and see what's going on. We have social media. We're tracking that every month, and to see what we can do, what works, what doesn't work. We're looking into the hashtags. All these things are important now. The world is a different place, and it's not simply sending out an email and hoping that people will respond. So I want to exhort folks, especially the older ones. I can say that because I myself have gray hair. So I say that without any fear of whatever that word would be. Get on Instagram, get on Facebook, get on social media, get on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great site. Instagram, you need to try it. You need to try it, because when I look to see how many CWWA members are on Instagram, it's not enough. We get out a lot of information over Instagram. It's not a site for teenagers, just for teenagers. It's not a site for young people. It is a business site. When you go on the internet and you see people using Facebook and Instagram, they're becoming millionaires just using Instagram and Facebook to build a business. So it is serious business. So I exhort you guys, go and look and just download it and play with it. You'll see, and then download CWWA in your LinkedIn and as a follower, and you will get all the updates, because everything that we put on is on our social media. We have one specialist group right now, something that we've done. We're very proud that we've got it done. It's taking a little time to get off the ground because people are getting accustomed to it. But we have our water loss specialist group, and it's starting to move a little bit, and I'm very encouraged by that. The specialist groups are where the action is, because it's specialist. So you don't have to join a group that just talks about everything. You can join a group that talks about what you like. We've been trying to open a wastewater specialist group and a solid waste specialist group this year, but we haven't been able to get the traction or the folks that want to head it and be the responsible, be the chair. And it doesn't have to be generally wastewater. It could be a reuse specialist group. It doesn't have to be a broad one. It could have a niche. And of course, solid waste could have a niche like waste to energy. That's a big thing in the Caribbean now. David talked about that. A lot of people are coming trying to sell waste to energy to the Caribbean. Some of it is bogus and some of it is interesting, but we won't get into that now. So we're looking for more. We're looking to expand on our specialist groups. One of the other things we're looking at is to develop our national sections. National sections have been around for a while. Some of the constitution is heavily outdated because it was in 2004 when it was done, and that was before they had a secretariat, a full-blown secretariat with an executive director. I'm actually the third executive director. It started, I think, 2014. And so there's some revamping that is required there. But what we need are for people to be in the national sections. We have some national section chairs, and they're doing what they can to get their membership in there. So if you're a member in a country, write the secretariat if you like, CWWA TT secretariat at gmail.com. Find out if who's the chair in the country, if there is one, and if you would like to be one or you just want to know. But get involved. We are an NGO. An NGO means everybody on deck. This is not IBM where you have all these different levels. The board members have to work, the secretariat has to work, the members have to work. That's what NGOs do. So we're looking to engage and to make it interesting and exciting to be able to do so. The revised Regional Strategic Action Plan, RSAP, and the Caribbean Waste Management Action Plan, CWMAP, brand new, hot off the press, full of projects. We're looking to see how we can monetize them for CWWA and to improve the region. There are different strategies that we can use in order to involve our membership in some of that work that is available. There's a lot of work available to be done in the Caribbean. The development banks and the funders, they have a lot of money. They're trying not to send back the money because it's not used. So there is a lot of money, and they're just looking to spend it, and we're going to help them do so to help improve our region. Our president talked about the CWWA Academy. It's very exciting. That was one of the recommendations coming out of the work in the RSAP, and we actually had a sustainable financing of the CWWA study done, and the CWWA Academy was one of them, where we can provide work with our sister companies like Kawasa and others in the region to provide certification of different types, to provide continuing education units. You know, you're a professional. I think one of the early speakers talked about that we don't continue to be educated in our profession as much as some other places are. So we're looking to provide CEUs or whatever acronym you use in terms of continuing education units or development units. We want to do that because our region needs to grow. You just can't go to school in 19 whatever or 2010 and then for the next 50 years you're going to rely on that education. You need to keep growing. We're looking at increasing partner and interagency engagement. Trying to, we're looking to team with IDB, trying to position ourselves to be able to get to be part of one of the technical corporations, the TCs. We're looking for technical assistance. We're looking for the grants. The money is there, and CWWA wants to work with companies, consultants, contractors to be able to access some of those funds to be able to build our region. Part of that is our continuing pursuit of having a voice in CARICOM for the water and waste sectors. We continue to do so. There's a new Secretary General. I have actually met her in a forum elsewhere. We had a good talk. So we are going to pursue our collaborations with them and see how we can put water and wastewater and solid waste on their agendas so that we can move forward. So I will stop there for now because there's a lot to talk about. Sarah talked about the digitalization of the website. We're going to revamp the website so that it becomes very useful in many different categories. As we said, we're going to put a V8 engine in it so they can carry any load that we want to be able to carry. So I want to thank you for that. And let's now go into our breakout sessions. Into our breakout sessions, we're going to have some topics that we're going to talk about because we do want to hear from you. And we need to hear from you because you have ideas and you will continue this, but we want to start at our 30th anniversary. Remember, we talked about looking backward and looking forward. So in the breakout rooms, we have some moderators. In room 1, you will be assigned to rooms randomly. Room 1 is Angela Franklin. Room 2 is Lise Walter. Room 3 is Marissa McMillan. Room 4 is Cyprian Gibson. Room 5, I will be moderating that, and room 6 will be Ms. Lakeisha Johnson. So when you see the message to go to the room, the invitation, there it is. Please join. We'll be like 15 minutes in there, and we'll come back, and the moderators will share a few of the highlights. It won't be too much longer. I know that it's becoming late for some folks, but the information that we gather here will be very important. So let's join our rooms. Thank you.
Hi, are the people on here not joining a breakout room or did not receive the message to join the breakout room? If you didn't receive a message to join a breakout room, please message in the chat and let me know if you're having any issues. Thank you.